Good day to you all. My name is Donato. Welcome back to another interview. Yes, and I've got an amazing guy who's coming on for this interview. And I'm sure by the end of this, you're probably all going to be feeling glad all over.
I'm feeling glad all over. Yes, I'm glad all over, baby.
Oh yes, glad all over. This man was a former England international runner. He's currently co-founder and director of RunThrough UK and also GW Active Sports Agencies. And he's generally an all-round nice guy. Welcome to the show, Matt Wood.
Hi,
hey Matt, how's it going?
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
It's an absolute pleasure, Matt. When you mentioned that you wanted to come on, I nearly had some kittens. In fact, in the words of Austin Powers, I went like this.
Yeah, baby, yeah.
So I'm tremendously excited to have you on, Matt. So yes, Matt Wood, former England international runner and now co-founder and director of RunThrough UK. I see you're fully branded with your RunThrough gear there. So quickly, that's it. Yeah, I know with the webcams and whatever, it's sort of in opposites, but it's a bit like when you're holding the mug, you know. Oh, is it? It's on shot. Yeah. But firstly, I've got to say thank you so much for giving your time, because I know you're a very busy guy now. As we're coming out of lockdown and being an event organizer, there's lots of events kicking off, and I did see you on national TV. I think it was BBC with the. Oh, not the Hampton Court, Kempton Racecourse, wasn't it? Yeah, because I've been to Kempton Race, which is normally horse racing, but you were doing some great racing there. How was that?
Yeah, it was a great event. It went really well. Obviously, with it being and the interview and stuff itself at BBC was the first time I've done anything live like that on TV. So it was a bit nerve-wracking, and I imagine you're very experienced at this kind of stuff. But I've only ever been the interviewer rather than the interviewee. So I found it difficult being on the other side of things, but it was an enjoyable experience. I had so many messages from friends from when I was younger saying, "Oh, so you on TV," and that kind of stuff. But the event was the first event back since lockdown with RunThrough doing it, and it was great to be the first people to bring events back to the UK, really.
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. Before we go into the wonderful details of your amazing running career and RunThrough and so on, can you tell us how people can find you on the social meds, both yourself personally and RunThrough UK?
So RunThrough is RunThrough UK on Instagram, Twitter, and everywhere else, really. RunThrough UK, one word. And I'm on Matt Woody Wood. So Matt Woody Wood, all one word. Woody because Woody is little, and Woody's the middle name. But
excellent. Woody, I'll put the links in the descriptions below, so people who are watching this on the old YouTubes and Facebook can find you there. But yeah, so being on national TV, when I did see you, I'm obviously being a RunThrough, and I'm not saying this just because you are on air. I mean, currently I'm a member of Bourneville Harriers, great running club in Birmingham, or Bourneville, you know, with the Cadbury factories. Yeah. And I hold the records, age category records for all the distances, but 2 of those records are with your events, 5K and 10K. The 10K was December, I think, the Goodwood 10K, which was absolutely fantastic, and so many people rave about the Goodwood event. And the 5K was, I think, in between one of the lockdowns, was at the Olympic Park, which was great. So I do love the events that you organise. But before we talk about the events and RunThrough, a little bit about yourself and how you got started in running, because people want to know how, you know, England international runner and all that. So obviously you've got pedigree there. When did you start running? Were you like a little boy when you started?
Yeah, I was actually. Yeah, so when I started running, I was a small kid, and I was really quick at sprints at school. So winning the local races, town sports, that sort of stuff. And then I got to about 13, and my dad's a chairman of a running club, Blackburn Harriers, and he was like, "Come down to the Harriers and train with the distance group." So I started 14 years old, started training with a guy called Arthur Almond, who's since passed away, and he coached me to winning national titles at under 15, under 17. Wow. And then ran again as a junior level as well, international. So, and then after that, I went to Loughborough University on a sports scholarship, and I just really went there because I wanted to run. I applied for 5 courses at Loughborough. Because the best runners in the country were going there at that point in time, so I wanted to meet them all and be part of it. So yeah, it's in my blood. My dad ran a 2:31 marathon when he was in his, I think his late 30s, 40s. So he was pretty good at the marathon. My sister's run a sub 3-hour marathon like 2 or 3 times. My mum's done London as well, but not quite the same speed as my dad and my sister. So running's in my blood. I love it. My dad's now the chairman of the North of England Athletics, so he's really involved with the sport. And so I was never going to do anything else really. I love running and I love the sport itself.
Wow. So there's clearly a family pedigree there. And as you mentioned, Loughborough University, for our international viewers and listeners, Loughborough I would regard as, certainly when I was a kid, is Loughborough was the #1 university for all sports for people to go there. So so you got there, you got to Loughborough. Did you do a degree or did you just run?
Well, I could just run, to be honest with you. But yeah, like Loughborough is still renowned as was voted the world's best sporting university. So it's a club, and I was organising organising socials, and I'm a pretty social person, so I love that side of it all. I did come out with a 2-1 degree in sports science, and I enjoyed that, and I did a law conversion course afterwards because I just wanted to do something different. But I love Loughborough and the people that I met there, and it's a great place to go. If anyone that listens and has a kid that wants to go there, I'd recommend it highly. Yeah,
get to Loughborough University. In fact, it was Seb Coe went there, didn't he? Yeah, Sebastian Coe, multiple gold-winning. So, what distances did you tend to focus on when you were younger? Did you go, mainly track?
Yeah, I was
cross country.
And cross country wasn't for me. I was quite muscular, and so I kind of sank in the mud a little bit. So I was doing 800s and 1500s and the odd 400 meters. I found myself I was quite good at the 1500 because I could kick at the end and use my pace. But my endurance wasn't great in terms of compared to the best out there, but I was good over the 8 and 15.
Absolutely. I was going to say, in terms of, I've come across a few at the park runs where I see a lot of very athletic people, shall we say, at the start of the park runs, and they're great up to about 2K, and then I'll just pass them. But it's a different ball game completely, isn't it? It's endurance, speed.
You're going to hit the lactic acid pretty soon, and then you'll be hanging on for dear life in the last 1,000 meters.
But clearly you enjoy, like myself, we love running, and whilst you may not be an England international runner now and you do organise events, do you do a lot of running now yourself?
Yeah, so I was kind of on and off for years. I've done a London marathon. I did a marathon in Uganda randomly, and I've done a few other races as well, just kind of enjoying the sport and being involved in it. But then when lockdown happened last March, I kind of started doing extra training. I started stretching every day, and I've run 50 miles a week, I think, now for, I think it's about 9 months. And like no breaks from 50 miles, just 10 miles 5 times a week. That's just what I've been doing. So I've got myself in half decent shape, like around the 3-hour marathon pace shape. I imagine. But I've enjoyed doing it, and I'm happy that I've had some time to do that in the last 7 years of growing RunThrough and GW Active. I haven't had that time to do that really.
Yeah. Wow, 50 miles. I mean, that is proper serious. And when you say around 3 hours, what you're doing around 26th of September, are you anywhere near Berlin that day?
Yeah, well, I've been to Berlin a couple of times. My sister ran it.
Can you pace me? Can you pace me, mate? And then I got my first place there, so I need a few paces. Sub 3. Got to get sub 3 at 60.
I reckon I could pace you to 20 miles, and then I think I struggle a little bit. And at this point in time, maybe in a few months.
Hey, I'll take that. Even if you pace me for the first 15 miles, I'll take that. So, but I've got to ask, why Uganda? I mean, I've been to Kenya, not long before I was running. I went there for a safari, so don't anybody think that I used to train with the elite Kenyans. But why Uganda? Why a marathon in Uganda?
Yeah, my friend was organising a race there. It's called Running the Rift, and I'd recommend it. It's a smaller.
What's it called again? Sorry, Running the Rift.
Yeah, and it's organised by a couple, Ellie, who's brilliant, and a partner, and they said, do you want to come across? And obviously I organise races, so I could help out with kind of setting the course up. And I didn't really know what I was going to do in terms of the race wise, but then I set the course up the day before, and I thought, right, we might as well do the marathon and enjoy it. And there was a group of Ugandans that set off, and they disappeared.
I know the feeling, yeah.
And then the internationals, which was about 50, 60 of us, we all competed for the rest of it. And I'm competitive, so I managed to come back home first in that. But it was more just fun than anything else. It was up and down trails and whatever. It was like I think around about 340-ish or something, but it wasn't exactly your flat road race.
But for a trail marathon, that's incredibly fast. And it makes me chuckle when you say about the Ugandans. Whenever I've been to local countries around the world, is that the local guys and girls, ladies, are just so super fit and super fast. It almost puts us all to shame, really. And I certainly remember going on a hike around Peru on the Inca Trail, and these little guys, barely 5 foot tall, carrying probably 5 times their weight and just running up those mountains like it wasn't even there. But
I've actually been to Peru as well, the Inca Trail. I did it on a bike. And
on a bike? Oh, you lazy bugger! You gotta walk it, mate.
I was on a bike. I've let the side down there.
Sorry, I joke saying lazy. I know a lot of friends who've biked it. You're still doing the altitude, yeah? It's over 4,000 meters. So how did you do? I mean, was it on a mountain bike that you done the Inca Trail?
It was a group tour thing. It wasn't like a really hard thing. It was, you had stop off points along the way, and it was just more fun experience to get there rather than just getting the train like everyone else did.
Yeah. Okay. So do you think now you're doing your 50 a week, 50 miles running a week, do you think you're going to go back? Or does the work with RunThrough and GW Active take up so much of your time you don't have the time to do the training?
Yeah, I think I always try to avoid the word time, and I know I did say that to you earlier on, but I do think it's priorities, and I haven't prioritized the running, and I don't think I will. But I do think I can find an hour and a half a day for exercise. I just need to get up earlier, get out of bed, do some training. That's just it's just that. It's nothing to do with me not having time. It's me being.
It's priority. Yeah. I totally get it, Matt. And I mean, I was having a discussion on the live chat on the Sunday where I'm currently training for a half Ironman, 70.3. And I don't know how last week, 14 hours of training. I don't know how people train for a full Ironman if they're working. I don't personally get it. Again, it might be priorities. Maybe instead of getting up at 5, I've got to get up at 4 and do it that way.
It changed the game a little bit.
I can imagine turning up to an office and just sleeping all day, you know. I'll just be eating and drinking, say, stop, don't bother me, please, don't bother me. But,
I've also looked into the Ironman as well myself, and I really can't swim, so I have to dedicate a lot of time to swimming, and I don't think I could do it. But I envy, and I'm a bit like, I look up to people who are having a go at the half marathon, half Ironmans and Ironmans, because it's fantastic.
Do you know what, Matt? I know that RunThrough, I've seen that you have organised some triathlons. I think it's the one at Dorney Lake, which was the ex-Olympic rowing destination. But yeah, the swimming bit, it's just a case of you just got to get it done. You just get in, put your wetsuit, plod, and you come out. But and then catch them up on the bike. And then when it comes to the run, you just go past everyone, Matt, because none of them can run. So
a sprint triathlon. I did it from like a swimming pool near where I live. I was doing the first length. I thought, right, I'll do front crawl because that's what everyone does. I went the first length. I went hell for leather. I got to the end, and then the person who started 5 seconds behind me was right next to me. And then before I knew it, she'd gone past me, and I was just right. I thought, right, I'll do breaststroke. So I did breaststroke for the rest of it, and I actually was quicker doing that than I was the actual front crawl. But it might be different in the league.
Well, there you go. And by the way, for those triathletes who are watching, and maybe washing at the same time, but I am joking when you say you can't run. It's all relative. Everybody can run. It's just the speeds that I think when it comes to the end of a triathlon is, you know, your legs are pretty battered, especially on a full Ironman, where for some people they've already been going for 10, 11 hours, and then they have to run a marathon at the end of it, which adds on another 5 or 6 hours. But hey ho. But in terms of, you say, priorities, what started you into starting in RunThrough and GW Active Sports Agents? Did they start at the same time? Did they come together? Because you're currently, you say, the co-founder and director. So I'm guessing you co-founded it with a friend of yours, business partner. How did it all start? 'Cause my understanding is you started, because I was having a bit of research, and as you do, and I came across that. Was it 2013? Around 2013, you started.
Yeah.
So it's amazing what you find on Google, isn't it? And, so tell us the story, Matt, of how RunThrough, because I love the name RunThrough, because we run through the UK, you know. How did it all start?
Yeah, so I was working for different event companies. I worked for Great Run, London Marathon, these kind of companies. I also started my own nightclub business, so I was doing
nightclub.
Yeah.
Were you a gangster? You know, like...
No, I was just organising it all really, and it was like we rented the club out and then that kind of stuff. It was good fun, and I learned a lot from how to promote like a venue and that kind of thing. And then when I went to London, before I went to London, I started like a marketing agency where I was just doing websites and SEO for different like clients, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And my business partner Ben, he was working for Unilever, and he was in finance, and he wasn't really enjoying the corporate lifestyle of that. And for me, I was working like independently, had my own businesses, and I loved running. And we knew each other through running. We went to London together. We used to race together when we were kids. We were like, so we were rivals when we were kids, and we friends at university. And then we kind of met up for a drink and said, like, do you want to do a business? And he's like, yeah, well, like I'm doing these events. He said, yeah, event business would be brilliant. And then we said, right, we'll put it together, and sat down, came up with some names, like hundreds of names that we came up with. And the best one was RunThrough. And the first event we did really determined what happened afterwards. So we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves in for that first event and how it was going to play out. Once it happened and we realized how we worked together and the people that came to it, we just thought, wow, there's something here that is not just about the running. It's about the people that come to the events, in terms of they're not just coming for a run. They're coming to meet their friends. They're coming to like meet people for the first time, or just get out of the house. And we found that was the thing that we had to focus on, because that's the thing that was like most relatable for myself personally. I feel like I'm a friendly person. I like talking to people, and these events allow me to do that as well. And I was meeting some fantastic people like yourself who come to the events and done fantastic things and done your own YouTube channel and all that stuff. It's fantastic, and that all comes from these events. And when we were in 2013, there wasn't anything like what we were doing. There is now, and there was a few large events, but there wasn't like a series like to the scale that we're doing it at. And we went from 30 events in year 2, I think, year 3, to just over 200 booked in for the next 12 months. So we've really scaled it up over that period of time. And like that involves hiring people and a lot more risk and a lot more responsibility. And it's kind of, at the time, I've always just enjoyed that process, and I love it. Like I'm so passionate about what I do. It's sometimes probably annoying to people, but
well, do you know what, Matt? For me, it's the best kind of annoyance. I can tell by your voice and the glint in your eye and the smile that you are genuinely enthusiastic about this. And I think that's why the events are so successful. And all the staff that I've dealt with, events and emails and so on, have all been very helpful and kind. But as I say, I think the first time we may have met would have been almost 4 or 5 years ago at Thorpe Park. I think it was the first half marathon there, and I think a lot of people complained, who said it was a flat course? I said, you obviously don't live in the UK. There's no such thing as a flat course, you know, but some might be more flat than others. I think there was one hill, and people were outraged, you know, but everything that you've just said there is, the event is more than just a running event, isn't it? And you have all types of, it's not just about paying for one event. You have different subscription type things as well. Is that right? I think a lot of people, when they first introduced me to it, I was living in London at the time, they said, oh, you can get this pass and it pays for so many races or unlimited races. Do you still do that?
Yeah, we do. It's called a season pass, and we have like a few hundred people who are members of this season pass club, and they kind of, not only do they get to pick whatever events they want to do throughout the year, like any event, north, south, Midlands. So people coming from London for a day trip to Tatton Park or to Manchester City Centre to do one at Media City, and we've got loads of people coming up this year to one at Alton Towers. Like obviously you did the Thorpe Park one, but we're doing an Alton Towers event in November, and everyone's saying, "Oh, can we come to that as part of the season pass?" I'm like, "Yeah, brilliant, get along." And we do found that people within London and now in Manchester area the season pass is a great idea because you do save a lot of money, and it's also for us, it's great to see those familiar faces every single time because it really just helps the community, really.
I think it's a great business model because it helps, you know, you're showing the people there are showing their loyalty to yourselves, and obviously you then have a. So you mentioned Alton Towers. Would you believe I am this very moment standing in Staffordshire? So it's literally not quite just around the corner, but over Cannock Chase away-ish type place. But yeah, I might be there. But then I think I have got some other events going on, but I won't discuss that. But in terms of what are your favorite types of events that you do, because looking at some of the stats that I've seen here I'll just quote you some from your website, where in 2019, this is obviously pre-COVID, you had over 120,000 participants, which is incredible. And since you started in 2013, you've had over 500,000 finishers. That's 500,000. That's amazing. And then when it comes to money raised in 2019, over £5 million money raised. That must make you feel really good, Matt.
Yeah, it makes you feel like, obviously, when you set off to do something initially, you have an idea or you have an ambition, and then as years go by, it grows, and you meet different people who can offer different services or different things, and that helps this kind of thing snowball. And like looking at those numbers, you're just like, wow, like, how?
Yeah.
But it makes sense because all the people that come to the events that fundraise off the back of it, not everyone does that. But people do that, and everyone who's coming to a race for the first time might well do that. And we work with a fantastic company called RunThrough Charity, and they really help us with that and structure things. And it's been great working with them and seeing how the charities can really be like help from that perspective. Because it's not something you think about when you first do it. You just think about a friend who wants to raise money and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's great. I mean, we did talk earlier when I saw you at the Kempton Racecourse. It was the first event after the current lockdown that we've had this year. But I was at one of your earlier events, and you sort of pioneered the events where they were COVID friendly. And dare I ask, how has it impacted you guys? Because obviously you're here, smiling enthusiastic. What were your thoughts when? It would have been, it's over 14 months now, March last year. And I was in East London at the time. And all of a sudden, Boris comes out and says, right, everybody stay at home.
Yeah.
Stop.
It was crazy. And we're organising, like for us, the biggest events we organised in terms of participant numbers, February, March, because it's before the marathon, and November time, people kind of sign up and done up. So like, it was literally our biggest time of year. We just done the Hampton Court Palace Half Marathon, which is one of our larger events. And when that finished, we were just like, the COVID is going to stop everything now. And when that thing happened, we were just like every other business in the country, like, what happens now? How long will this last for? And after a few days of thinking about it and dwelling on it, and as soon as they announced the furlough and that system, it really helped like everyone knowing that people can stay in jobs at least until September time. And it was like it was fantastic. That is a lifesaver for the whole money in the country and stuff. And and then for us at RunThrough, we like been kind of talking about doing our own clothing brand. I'm wearing the top right now for 2 or 3 years, and Ben took a step back from the event organizing side of things, and Jack Williams has stepped up to take his role kind of thing. And we were designing back and forth, and we'd ordered all this stuff. We put a lot of like our money into this clothing brand. We had a full range: t-shirts, trousers, jackets, socks, the lot. And it arrived.
Toys, fondue sets,
everything. And it arrived in April. So we had
mugs,
the whole mugs. We do, there's mugs, There's all sorts of stuff. And it arrived when we were kind of panicking the most about not having anything to do and nothing to really sell as a business. And like, it's not just my job, it's the job of like our entire team, 20 people's livelihoods depend on, and more than that with the part-time staff members, the cafes, the stalls that come to the events. There's a hell of a lot of people that rely on the events as their income source to fund their lives. And when that gets cut off, it's not just us who are affected, it's all those people. And they have to work out a solution for that. And for us, our solution was, we have the clothing, let's try and learn about how to sell clothing. And it was all online, and that was an experience. And I've never done that before in terms of my own product, selling it online. And I've learned a lot in a year, and we've got to a really good place with it. And the community of people that we had, the running events, really stood behind us with the kit, and it was so nice to see that. It's really difficult because you're not offering the same service, we're not organising an event, and then to see them buy the kit and wear it with pride and take a picture of it and do a virtual event with us or any virtual event, and it was just like, it was quite emotional seeing that kind of reaction.
So in a way then, I had a chap from the US who he's now a consultant about people who pivoted during the COVID, and clearly you've pivoted, and a lot of people I've spoke to, it's been a positive thing. Whilst it started off bad and we thought, oh my God, it's the end of the world, it's almost forced people into doing things that they should have done before. Do you think it's sort of like that for you guys?
Yeah, definitely.
You should have had the clothing, because to be honest, I thought you had the clothing from day one. I didn't know you only started it last year.
Yeah, well, we gave out T-shirts at race days, and we sold like a couple of T-shirts with the RunThrough logo on it. But like this is a bamboo.
Having the whole range.
Yeah, like it's a completely different ball game. It's like we're talking having a range of clothing that's like the same as any other running clothing brand out there. It was a lot of time and effort to do that, and like, I can look back in hindsight and go, yeah, that was a great pivot, but it was already planned. So the pivot we had really was to the virtual events and doubling down on that. And we were sending like thousands and thousands of virtual race packs out like a week. Like I don't know what we had in the end, but it was like 20,000 plus people from like 52 countries around the world. It's mad. Like, and the virtual world it is different, and it will have now a place with us, I think, sit there alongside what we do. Obviously, it doesn't bring enough money to afford to pay for all the staff and stuff. But it's a really cool thing for people, and I think we'll keep it.
Did I hear correctly, Matt? You mentioned the clothing material, bamboo. Did you say bamboo?
Oh, bamboo. Yeah, we just got a bamboo range.
So you could feed that to a panda.
I've got a little panda picture there. Every time I post that, I've got a little panda picture.
That segues me nicely, because with it being bamboo, that means it's biodegradable and all that lovely stuff. So that leads me on to neatly to this is this is my only medal so far of this year, and for those who've been watching my channel will know it's from the Shepherdine Half Marathon, because that's what it says with the sheep for the shepherds. And the thing that I love about this medal, and I don't know whether whether RunThrough will be considering doing these types of medals, is it's made from clay. So when the day I was born, I'm getting very philosophical here. I've got to keep like you say, Matt, with the camera, you don't know which way it's going. So I move. Oh, there it is. As I cover one eye, Captain Jack. So with this, when I was born, getting very philosophical, there's only one thing guaranteed that is going to happen. It's one day I will die, and all my medals will go. But this one is biodegradable because it's clay. Would you guys consider doing something unique like this? I don't know what transportable for virtual, but at the real events, and just a little bit of ribbon. And what do you think? I mean, I love this idea. The guys who've done this, I think, are Rogue Runs. They're a West Country type event people. And when I saw this, I immediately loved it, because obviously I'm a bit of an organic fan. Would you guys consider doing organic type medals?
Of course, yeah. So
biodegradable.
Yeah, the only issue with that currently would be the volume that we need to transport and have is there's no one able to make that for us at the volumes we would need it at. We can do maybe a one-off event here, or a one-off event there. Yeah. Let's go in, and I think that's how you do things. I've also looked into like wooden medals and that kind of thing as well. Like the medals we do have, like we obviously have excess at events sometimes, because we often buy more than what's necessary. People want one and that kind of stuff. And so, but we have a recycling. We would take them to a recycling place. He takes them, he melts them all down and uses them for different things. I don't know what he uses them for, but he like the amount that we pay for the medal, he gives a tiny fraction back in that, and he recycles it. So I definitely think there might be an opportunity there, Matt. I'll give you this one for free. I won't charge you any business consultancy fee, but I think this might be the future. And you quite rightly said limited numbers. Say just to the first 500 or first 1,000. So you get 1,000 made, 1,000 people sign up, gone, done. And
I think it adds, as you know, Matt, there's a lot of people, whilst it's not just about the bling, it's almost like a recognition of the achievement, isn't it? And I think that's why probably virtuals, do you think that's why virtuals are so popular? What are the reasons why? How did virtual, I'm not a virtual runner myself, but what do you think sparked it? What's the appeal?
I think necessity, because there was nothing else to do, and that is pretty much the crux of it. From March onwards, there was literally no option but to do a virtual race. So, like, and if you're sat at home and the only thing you can do is exercise once a day, like, why not do a virtual race? And then because of that, I think people got into it. They started collecting challenges. They started doing more things, and that's helped snowball a little bit. And we have noticed a massive drop off since events have started to kind of pick up again. And like they are, like we do one called the Virtual Marathon Series. It's a newer concept, and we donate a percentage of each entry fee to a charity directly, depending on which one you select from the drop down box. And it has like different, you can run around like London and Tokyo or Everest, and there's these different challenges within it, and how the person who's like done the most amount of what's it called, like the highest hills or whatever, the you've got goes on the leaderboard, and then you win the medal. But yeah, there's lots of things.
The most ascent or whatever, or whatever it's called. Yeah, ascent. Yeah, I think for some people it's all about the ascent, and for others it's about speed, but it's different things for different people, isn't it? So the sports agency, did that start at the same time as you started RunThrough?
So that was in 2016. So we started in 2013, and then when Ben quit his full-time job, I also wound down my business, which was doing marketing, SEO, that kind of stuff, like pharmaceutical. I wound that down, and then we formed the agency, and it's been like that ever since. So we not only do events for ourselves, but we take on events and organise them for like charities or running clubs and that sort of stuff. So we offer a kind of service like that who need it, and we have staff that manage processes, and then as well as that, we sometimes manage the communications for an event, we'll manage the marketing, that kind of thing, and grown into different brands and products and that sort of stuff, rather than just the events now.
Excellent. I didn't realise that speaking with you originally from Blackburn, or the Blackburn area.
Yes, Blackburn. Yeah, I'm actually I'm born in Blackburn Rovers fan. Went to school in Blackburn.
So were you there when Shearer was there? Did you used to go? Yeah.
I've got a picture. I should get it for you. I've got a picture there, Alan Shearer.
Come on, get the picture. Come on. See, this is beauty of life. So whilst Matt is getting that picture, gives me an excuse to do this.
Yeah, baby, yeah.
And also, I'm actually feeling very glad all over. Oh, look at that. Shearer. For those who don't follow soccer, Alan Shearer was the centre forward, which I guess would you say, Matt, a centre forward is a bit like the quarterback, is a key player?
Yeah, he's more like the kind of
the pin-up. And Alan Shearer was the centre forward for Blackburn when Blackburn Rovers won the Premiership, which is like the Super Bowl equivalent. I'm just translating for my American friends or whoever, but for those who watch soccer, I do apologise. But and he was the centre forward for England, wasn't he? And very prolific goal scorer. And now he's a pundit with the BBC, and such a nice chap. But then he moved in. He went to Newcastle. He went back home, didn't he? After that.
So I remember I was only young then. I remember crying my eyes out, and my dad like, "Oh, he left us."
But hey ho, those were amazing days, and I remember seeing in my youth watching Blackburn, and it was almost like when we sort of digress away from. But I like talking about all sports. It was a bit like when I saw Leicester win the Premiership. It's great to see the because like I guess in the US with American football, here in the UK we have a set number of 4 or 5 top teams, but when you see some other team come in from the fringe and take the top spot, it does make us all feel good. So I bet you felt good when they won that, yeah?
No, yeah, it was great. And I'm looking forward to when Crystal Palace do the same thing in a few years' time.
Well, yes, because when I play the Glad All Over, let's have a little ditty on the Glad All Over, because we're doing so well here.
I'm feeling glad all over, yes, I'm glad all over, baby.
Yes, for those who don't follow football, soccer in the UK, Glad All Over is the theme tune for Crystal Palace, which is where Crystal Palace Football Club, South London, which is where I started my running career. But hey, a bit of random stuff there. So thank you for the reminder, Matt. But so would you say, so it's been some, in terms of going forward now, because we are coming out of, and I try not to chuckle because some overseas people tell me, "Oh, I saw your British adverts." Obviously, they speak in a different accent, but I'm just doing a posh English voice. I won't do an American or a Canadian or a New Zealand accent. But they say, "Is it true that you're allowed to hug now in the UK?" Apparently, I don't know if you know this, Matt, but the government has put together videos on how to hug.
I didn't know that. I haven't seen those videos at this point in time, but
So. But my take on that is that now we're allowed to hug. Obviously, we are relaxing and things are going really well here in the UK. That must be great news for you in terms of event organising and so on. How do you see things panning out now for the rest of the year? Do you feel more confident with the events? Are people purchasing more places? Is it picking up, or did it already pick up anyway from that event from Kenton?
Yeah, I think, well, we organised quite a few races back in August to December last year. So we were doing the COVID-safe races, and it's obviously very different to a normal race. There's no mass start, separate people out, and we ask people to leave as soon as they finished, and there's no spectators, and there's lots of things that are missing from the normal events. But we have found that people who run the races are very sensible. They'll stand a distance apart from each other, have a conversation, and we're getting to the point now where people are using the common sense, and I think. Once we know that the whole country is vaccinated, because we're pretty much almost there, why on earth would we keep everything the same? We have to move things forward, have to get back to normal again as soon as possible. And if everyone's vaccinated, hopefully people will feel safe, as they would feel safe from any other disease that they're being vaccinated from. So I think in terms of running events and getting those back in, we're already up and running, we're already doing stuff, and there is a kind of a cautious, I think people aren't necessarily jumping out the door to go and do it. It might take a couple of months before it gets back to normal again, but we're ready for that.
It is understandable in some way, and I've seen so many stories on social media, and certainly when I was running around various parts in Epping area, I think I could probably write a book. I know I'm in the middle of writing a book of the past 5 years, but I could write a book just on the past 12 months, and I'm sure you've probably experienced how people react to you when you're running past them or near them or whatever it is. There's been some interesting responses, but again, it's understandable because of people's stress and anxieties. But I have to take my hat off. When I attended your first event, it was the 5K, and I think I put the GoPro on my chest, so I filmed the whole 5K so that people could, because not that, we see on social media certain individuals who use the Strava time instead of chip times or this or that. So I find it a bit weird. So I thought, let's just film the whole thing so you can see it and you can stop watch it, and watch the whole run. And I'm not fast forwarding it or anything. It's at the pace and you can hear me panting. It was absolutely hilarious. But I was very impressed. The only thing that I found different whilst we had all those screens, as you say, was the time starts and the distances that we were at. Apart from that, no mass start. Everything was pretty much the same. There was all those lovely people ringing their cowbells and people cheering, and and people who were passing me grunting and snorting and whatever, and I was passing people who were grunting. It was all like a regular race. But I guess, as you say, it'd be great when the confidence does come back for people, where we can have the mass starts and the loud music and all that type of stuff, and the bit like, obviously, if you've run a nightclub, when you get a big thumping club tune going, it gets people in the mood, doesn't it? And it's more than just a race. It's almost like a day out.
Yeah, well, that's what it is, really. It is that. It is getting out. For different people, it's different things. Like some people, it's the peak of the year. They've been training for that one race the whole year, and it has to go perfectly. Some people, it's just a day out with their friends and family. Sometimes it's kind of meeting up on a date. Sometimes it's like...
I've heard that one.
Sometimes people just turn up just to see other people and have a conversation, because maybe they're working remotely all day. They've not spoke to a single human being in person for a few days and they think, here's an event, I can go and do some exercise. At the end, I'm going to see some people who think like me, who want to keep fit and get out there. And that's what running events are, and that's what a run-through event is.
Absolutely. I didn't realize that you're Cupid as well when you said going on a date. So are we going to, a bit like Cilla Black and Blind Date, are you going to be doing a sort of like game show where and tonight, Matthew, we're going to have Rebecca and Brian, who met at the Chase the Sun, and now they're married with 10 children, there's
definitely been couples that have met and got together at the race, not maybe at the races, but like they've met at the race and they've become like girlfriend, boyfriend. And we think had our first run-through wedding, I think, a couple of years ago. And my partner now, she works for RunThrough, and I met her at a running event. So we were meant to get married when COVID happened it was March, meant to get married in April, May, and now we've rolled it over twice. So but I met her at a running event. So yeah, it does work.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. I was going to say, before we get into our I like to finish off interviews in terms of the Fast Five and Furious, but before I go into that, and a little surprise for you, Matt, is do you have, because a lot of people watching this may be new to running or have been running for a while and maybe a bit stuck or whatever, from your experience and obviously from your obviously being qualified as well, degree qualified, would you have any sort of top tips for people who are getting started in running, and just some key little pointers, maybe 2 or 3 that you think would help for those who are getting started, or for those who maybe have lost their mojo or not finding the joy in running anymore? Do you have any little secret tips?
Yeah, the hardest thing for training is getting out the door, and if you can make it really simple. So sometimes you think, I've got to go for a run, it's going to take me half an hour, that's really tiring, I don't have half an hour spare. Like, get changed, put your clothes on, go for a walk. And once you're walking, you might go for a little run. And then you make sure it's just 10 minutes out, and then you got to run 10 minutes back. You got to force yourself to do that, because if you go in a straight line, 10 minutes, there's only one way of getting back. It's the exact same way you just came.
I like that. So an out and back, nice and simple.
Out and back's really, for me personally, I find them really simple. And not only that, having something where you can potentially look at doing in the future. So if you've never run before, maybe doing your first 5K race, and maybe that could be the first time. So maybe pick that like 3 or 4 months down the line, and be aware that when you go to these races, you're not going to be, you might not even be the last person. If you are, it doesn't matter anyway, but you're not going to be alone. Like, the whole point in coming out to these events is to meet people who have similar thoughts to you. And if you can get out the door and enter an event, or go to a running club, or anything like that, where you're seeing people, you're going to be motivated by them and have conversations with them about running. So events, clubs, and online as well, lots of people out there like yourself who you can reach out to, ask a question about running and how to get started and how to become as quick as you are. And even if it's not about being fast, about getting out the door, I'm sure someone like yourself, or myself as well, will have lots of answers for you guys if you want to help in that regard.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely brilliant, Matt. It's interesting you say it's not about the speed or whatever. And funny enough, when I entered my first half marathon, I had the pink number for the great run, so I was at the back. But I cheekily weaved my way through and started sort of in the middle. But yeah, there are people, and I can vouch for it, having been to many of your events, there's people of all levels. Yeah, there's a few what I call super speedy club athletes, but it's almost like they're a minority. Although I did notice at the Goodwood, someone spotted my statistics and they says, "Wow, Donato, you were running a bit slow there." I said, "What do you mean? I got a PB sub 38. That's all right for a 60-year-old, isn't it?" And they said, "Oh no, but there was much more faster runners than you." I said, "Well, that was probably because the Goodwood GP was one of the few events that's happening. So people are signing up, and I mean, I travelled. It was like a 5-hour."
Really?
Return journey, 6-hour return journey. And because we wanted to do a race, and we knew that we'd get, so I had other friends who were traveling at different directions, different distances. We all knew that if we turn up to one of your events, we'd get a good race, a good event, and it would happen and it wouldn't get cancelled, which is one of the other things. So, we knew it was on a racetrack, but yeah, they'd spotted that there was a lot of elite runners, but I've noticed at a lot of events you've got people of all ranges, and all abilities, which is fantastic, you know, and that's what it's all about, people having a go. So thank you so much for those tips. So here we go with the Fast, Five and Furious. Are you ready, Matt? You know, it's all pretty random, just a bit of fun.
Okay.
And because you've been such a good sport on here, and pun intended, by the way, good sport. Hey, is so of these Fast Five questions, they are totally random. One of them is running related-ish, and the others are completely out there. And so just give us your first answer that comes to mind, Matt. And as I say, it's just a bit of fun. So you're Fast, Five and Furious. I should maybe give a little bit of an intro to this, because for those of us who like running, we do like running up those hills, don't we? And as we often say, and it's interesting you say that when you mentioned about the romance and maybe we'll do a run through wedding, I just happen to have this here as well.
Love is in the air, every sight and every sound.
Love is in the air. Yes, classic 70s. But anyway, Fast, Five and Furious. Here you ready now? Have fingers on buzzers. First question. Would you say for yourself, Matt, that it's tougher to run a fast 5K or a sub-3 marathon?
Fast 5K.
Fast 5K. Number 2, carrot cake or cheesecake?
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake. Number 3, Aston Martin or Mini?
Aston Martin.
Number 4, Nike or Puma?
Nike.
And last but not least, number 5, Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola?
Pepsi.
On that note, thank you, Matt. That's been absolutely brilliant. It's been a joy chatting to you, and I can see the absolute love and enthusiasm you have for running. And everybody go check out RunThrough UK events. The links are below, and you can follow Matt Woody on obviously when you mention Woody, I keep thinking of Toy Story, and it's that well, yeah, I was expecting you to have a cowboy hat on. It's been absolutely brilliant having you on the show, Matt, and I'm sure people have lots of questions, and if they can leave the questions below, queries and all that type of stuff. And for those who are visiting the UK, I would highly recommend find a run-through event, because they are all over the UK, aren't they, Matt? And you're guaranteed a spectacular event, and it's all good fun. So thank you so much for your time, Matt. It's been an absolute joy chatting to you, and we'll see you soon and chat on the socials as well.
No, thank you very much for inviting me on. Thank you very much.
It's been absolutely brilliant.